Let's go! Sasha Banks returning to WWE. Got the latest teases from none other than Mercedes Moné herself. We'll talk all about it. I got the latest in this upload. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But before we get into that, some rapid fire headlines. A big salute to Zelina Vega, who has just re-signed a multi-year contract with WWE World Wrestling Entertainment, continues to lock down the superstars. It's a very smart move. Build from within your own structure. Now, of course, this is not going to be good news for a lot of talents, most likely after WrestleMania. There is a huge round of cuts that still needs to be established. The flywheel from Endeavor is nowhere near complete. Tens of millions of dollars still has to be cut in cost, and that's only going to come from the contracts of these wrestlers. They tried everything else. They made cuts in departments and other areas and did all the layoffs, all the firings they could from within Stamford, Connecticut, for instance. But that's only going to equate to so much money. It's pennies. The big money is in these contracts. So the cuts that you saw early 2023 or mid, that's going to pale in comparison after WrestleMania. So what they're doing is they're going through the roster and they're locking down everybody that they want going forward, right? It's basically last kid picked at gym class right now. And everybody they want, they're locking down. If you're one of the wrestlers that did not get locked down with a new contract, you might want to be at least looking elsewhere for employment around WrestleMania, right after Mania. Because that's probably a big clue as to what is happening. You didn't get picked in gym class. So Zelina Vega is somebody that did get picked. She is on Team WWE, re-signed multi-year. Congratulations to Zelina Vega. Also, Goldberg is in the news cycle. Goldberg calling Vincent Kennedy McMahon a real piece of shit. Yeah, that's right. He said the word. Because he claims that Vince McMahon, he said this in many interviews, so I definitely believe Goldberg. When he says that Vince McMahon, he offered to do the job to Roman, and in return, he just wants a retirement match. What Goldberg isn't telling you, though, is more than likely he was holding McMahon up, right? Like, I'll do this job for your golden boy Roman, but I want to win my retirement match. And knowing Goldberg, he wanted full creative control. He wanted to pick the opponent. He wanted to tell Vince exactly how he wants to win. It's his big send-off. You can't Vince McMahon will never allow that. Ultimate Warrior tried that. It was SummerSlam, early 90s. And before he went out for his match, he actually held McMahon up for more money. And McMahon's like, dude, we're live on pay-per-view. You can't do this to me. So he had to say yes to Warrior's demands. And when Warrior came back through that curtain, you're fired. Literally fired Ultimate Warrior, man. I don't know what Warrior was thinking other than maybe he was trying to get fired. But Goldberg is kind of cut from that same cloth where for some reason, and I love Warrior. You guys know that. One of my faves. Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah, dig it. And the Ultimate Warrior. Love them. They were the catalyst for many of us to fall in love with pro wrestling. But, I mean, they had this attitude where it was just love them. But they just had this... They had this block when it came to business. Like... They would talk to McMahon as if he was working for them, man. And I always say, you're an independent contractor. You're not an employee. So you better care about your booking. You better have say. You better have discussions. No question. But when you look at the things Warrior was demanding and Goldberg, we've heard many stories about Goldberg just thinking he was above the business. And pretty much dictating to his bosses what was gonna happen, not what he would like to have happen. Anyway, there's more to the story is what I'm saying. Goldberg is giving you a little bit, right? He's telling everybody what we already knew, right? In many facets Vincent Kennedy McMahon is a real piece of... I get it. But there's more to the story, too. I don't think Goldberg is completely innocent from being a real piece of either. That's all I'm saying, because there's many stories that Goldberg also is. So if you have two peas in the same pod, eventually that's going to be a combustible element. One of those peas is want to get out of that pod. So he was never granted his retirement match, is what Goldberg is pissed about. So he's calling Vince McMahon a real piece of... And I don't know what that's going to get. Vince McMahon, many people probably got in Vince's ear and said, dude, this guy's not drawing anymore. And he wasn't. It got to a point where Goldberg just wasn't drawing. It got to the point where when we heard Goldberg was coming back, we all rolled our eyes because we're thinking, who's going to get jobbed out to this dude? From Kevin Owens to my boy Bray Wyatt. From one jackhammer losing his championship in Saudi Arabia. That is unacceptable. There's no reason Goldberg had to take that title. Beating Brock Lesnar. I think that was like Survivors. Beating Brock Lesnar in like a minute, if even. Vince McMahon gave this dude the world. He wants you to lose against Roman. Lose to Roman. He doesn't have to give you a retirement match after that. And things happened with Vince afterwards, let's not forget. Some legal stuff, then he sold the company for $9 billion. I doubt very much Goldberg was on his mind. Oh no, legal troubles, Bill Goldberg. Oh, I'm selling the company for $9 billion, Bill Goldberg. When he's screwing his paralegals, I doubt he's thinking Bill Goldberg. Not everything revolves around Billy Goldberg. So... it just sounds like he got a lot of egos here. And when Vince went off and sold the company and did all this, and then Goldberg was like, well, wait, what about me? I know Doofus' son-in-law's not going to give me my match. It's not up to Doofus' son-in-law. He doesn't have to. Neither does Vincent Kennedy. If it's not written, he doesn't have to do it. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Lex Luger will tell you that. He told Vince he was going to stick around. Monday Nitro came around. The same night that Luger was on Raw, he shows up to WCW. Remember, Ravishing Rick Rude did that too. So that's why, man, you got to have that in right. Bill Goldberg should know this by now. So it's not necessarily Vince's... it's not his problem to behold, but Goldberg is not happy with Vincent Kennedy. It sounds like he wants one more match. I don't know. I mean, maybe he can get that match in alternative entertainment wrestling, possibly. But I don't know. Who wants to see that? That's what I mean. I mean, you're talking about a dude who's 56 years old. I'm not saying we don't want to see the dude back in the ring, but you better make it a situation, a story that really captivates us, so that the top thing we're not thinking about is, oh boy, who's he squashing, right? Come back and really put people over, and sometimes you can even win the match. But there's ways to put people over. Every time Goldberg was coming back, he just squashed people. That Bray Wyatt match in Saudi Arabia, still to this day, probably one of the most heated moments I've ever witnessed in professional wrestling. Or at least the situation that got me the most heated. And wrestling shouldn't do that. But Bray Wyatt was did dirty on that night. On that day. No excuse for that. So Goldberg, man, Vince never had to bring this guy back, period. He could have just left him in seclusion. He could have left him in irrelevancy. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Goldberg, of all people, calling Vincent Kennedy a real piece of shit. Well, you know, sometimes you just look in the mirror and you're like, two peas in a pod? Maybe just a little bit, you know? Anyway, that's that story. So we got Zelina Vega re-signing. Goldberg is not happy with WWE, more specifically Vincent Kennedy, and probably Doofus' son-in-law. We'll see. And what else? Oh, the Raw rating this week. This was a best of Monday Night Raw because it was Christmas night. Lowest rating in show history. I think that was expected. It was not a live show. It was on Christmas, but nobody was expecting this low. Last year, for instance, their best of show or whatever it was the day before Christmas, mind you, asterisk. Day before Christmas, big difference. But that was over 1 million in viewership. Under 1-1, but over 1-0. So they still pulled their milli and then some. This week's Monday Night Raw on Christmas pulled 600 some odd thousand. They're still trying to adjust it. I think it was just above 650 when I last checked. That looks to be going a couple of points lower than that when it's fully adjusted. But we'll just say 650 plus. Well under 700,000 is the Raw rating. Lowest. I never thought I would ever see a Monday Night Raw. I don't care if it's a holiday or not, Christmas. I get it. I just never thought I would see a Monday Night Raw in the 600,000s. That's wild. And that's what I mean. But before we can start using excuses like it's the holiday, ask yourself how we got this low. Like I hear you, right? It's because it was not live and it's Christmas. That's why it's 600,000. I get it. How did we get that low though? It's because the week-to-week show was no longer must-see. And unfortunately, almost from the day Paul Levesque McMahon took full control of creative, Monday Night Raw is pulling in their lowest ratings of all time, stuck with an average of 1.4. They've never, and this includes obviously with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, they've never had an average that low. So Paul Levesque McMahon's product is confusing a lot of people. The face versus faces, the heel versus heel match, a lot of that's just odd. A lot of it is what's called mark booking too. Just a lot of individuals are getting more wrestling time, but they're not larger than life characters. They're not intriguing. They don't have personality. They don't have charisma. So you're just seeing a lot of what I call vacuum matches, right? It's just vacuum A, vacuum B, and they're just seeing who can suck the charisma and personality out of the room faster. Vacuum matches. So if we can just correct those areas, I think you'll start to see an uptick in viewership. Levesque McMahon has a lot of work ahead of him. The good news is, and this is something to look forward to, is we're getting into WrestleMania season. After this week, that's it. It's WrestleMania season. And this is always when it's the most fun. You get the best of storylines, whatever those are. Even under Vincent McMahon, Kennedy McMahon himself. You remember last year, guys, the bloodline was booming. Even LA Knight and Bray Wyatt going into the Rumble. That was a fun storyline. But WrestleMania, both nights' main events, the tag match with the Usos and Owens and Zayn and Cody Rhodes and Roman, the main events were both something to you had to watch. You had to see it. Both nights' main events. And the undercard, there were several matches on each night that were really good, several with decent to really good storylines. So my point is, this is the time. And this year just feels like a little bit more special. You have so many faces. LA Knight, Sethington Rollins, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, the Usos and their thing, all of it. And now CM Punk. And you got that double main event, whether it's going to be Rock versus Roman or Roman versus Cody, whatever it is, part 2. Because we waited another year for struggle and adversity. Can't just have the struggle. We had to give him some adversity. The struggle was Brock. The adversity was the Judgment Day. Now we can give him the title, basically. See, he earned it now, basically. Another year, basically. See, that's why he didn't win it at 39, see? That's why we let Roman go on a year-long vacation with the title. Cody could not walk around with it. So, Cody versus Roman or Roman versus Rock on night 1 or 2. And then CM Punk versus Sethington Rollins for the World Heavyweight title, night 2 or night 1. That's a stacked double main event there for the Mania. And there's so much to look forward to. The ladies, Io Sky will not lose her title, hopefully, until WrestleMania. Who's it to? I see Jade Cargill versus like a Rhea Ripley, so I don't know if it'd be Jade. Maybe a returning Sasha Banks. I don't know, something that I'm just saying, man. There's a lot to look forward to. So I look for this rating. I think it's going to get an uptick anyway because it's Mania season. You got the big Rumble post going into Rumble, the pre and post show for Monday Night Raw's Rumble rating. Elimination Chamber, pre and post show, and WrestleMania. There's a lot of opportunity for a lot of eyeballs on this product. The trick is going to be, can they keep those eyeballs? Can they put together 3 hours of must-see TV that takes those casual viewers that came back and they make them keep coming back every week to watch that show. This is their chance. If Levesque McMahon wants to prove that he's the dude from years ago when it was black and gold NXT, right? And you want to show that you're still that Triple H, well, here you go. There you go. It's going to take a village. It ain't going to be just him. He doesn't have that mojo anymore. He'll be the first to tell you. This is a different Paul Levesque than the dude you got in black and gold. And he doesn't even have the same team that got him to where he was. So there's a lot of work to go. They just pulled the lowest rating of all time this week. I understand the Christmas. I understand all of that. Trust me. But 600 some odd thousand. How did we get to this? To the point where if there is a holiday, we're going to be as low as 600. Next year, what do? Or in a few years when it's back on Christmas, what are you going to pull? 200,000 viewers? Just keep it off the air and put in SVU or Blue Bloods. I'm not joking. Big Bang Theory will pull you over 1 million viewers if you can score that show. So that's the rating, guys. Big news on that one. What else do we want to go over? Let's get right into it, man. Oh, and NXT's rating. NXT pulled 671, I want to say, up from 640 from last week. So that might seem minuscule, but it's still in the right direction. And listen, this is on the day after Christmas. That could have easily bombed. But no, it pulled 671, so they must have done enough good things. I know JR9 has his NXT report and the year-end awards up on a recent upload. Make sure you go into the comments on a recent upload. Check both out. And I'm not even done finishing those. So can't speak too much on those, but I know JR9 will be happy to know that. And there was enough positives, too, that you could see an uptick to at least 671. So good job on NXT there, man. Monday Night Raw epically failed, but you kind of foresaw that. You didn't think 600,000, but you did foresee that. But NXT picked up some slack and at least something good for this company coming out of Christmas. All right. Now, yes. If you're newer to the channel, this has always been a Sasha Banks and Bray Wyatt channel. I always said that. This is a pro Sasha Banks, pro Bray Wyatt channel. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, you saw a lot less of Banks and Bray. And unfortunately, we all know what happened with Bray earlier this year, and even before that last year, Sasha Banks leaving WWE and just being out of competition for a while, going to Japan. You just really couldn't see her as often as we did when she was with WWE. So, a really bummer for a pro Bray Wyatt, pro Sasha Banks channel. Just seeing how it all unfolded with both, especially Bray. Much love, respect, salute. So, with Sasha Banks, you always held that little part of you that was like, maybe one day, they always come back. She'll be back. I said this about CM Punk and everybody scoffed, or a lot of people scoffed. BC, you have no idea, man. They fired him on his wedding day. There's no way he's going back. BC, much love, dude, but you don't know what you're talking about here. And I was like, all right, yeah, I do, and I will be right. And I was right. They always come back. Bruno Sammartino came back. Ultimate Warrior came back. Hulk Hogan several times. Bret Hart. Do you remember the Montreal Screwjob? They always come back, man. Sasha will be back, but man, you wanted to see her come back in her prime, ready to rock, because she truly still loves professional wrestling. And you really wanted to see her back home, just like CM Punk, man. As much as I might not be the biggest CM Punk fan, I get it. You just knew that was going to be the best structure for him. It was going to be the best possible spot and opportunity for him. And if done correctly, could be really good business. Same with Sasha Banks. There's no place on the planet that Banks was going to be utilized properly. She can scratch that itch to perform with other wrestlers and maybe have longer matches and do all the cool sequences. I get it. And trust me, there ain't no better than Banks. I say this all the time. And I haven't said it in a while because we haven't been able to speak about Sasha Banks in a long time. But Sasha Banks is everybody's best match, or at least one of them. I say this all the time, whether it's Zelina Vega, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair many times, Bayley many times, Io Sky, Asuka, whether it's a Carmella, it doesn't matter. You can go through the roster and all of their best matches, or at least one of, is always going to be Sasha Banks. That's how good she is. She's literally that good. It doesn't matter if it's a 22-minute match or a 3-minute match. You can give her 36 minutes or you can give her 8 minutes, and she's going to put together a match you're going to be talking about. That's just what she does. Doesn't matter if she's in there with a Becky Lynch, which, by the way, another one of bare minimum matches of Becky's career, especially that Hell in a Cell match. But it doesn't matter if it's with Becky Lynch or a broomstick. Sasha Banks is going to show up and show out. And overshadow everybody else. It's what she does. So she could scratch that itch and she could have all these matches, but there's no place that is going to be or have that spotlight like World Wrestling Entertainment. CM Punk just proved that yet again. CM Punk just laid down Cody Rhodes laid the blueprint down, and then CM Punk saw that, followed it to a T, and Cody Rhodes and CM Punk both will tell you the same thing. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And you just have that itch that you just want to go home. You want to go back. There's unfinished business. You just know that that's where you want to be. And I do believe that Sasha Banks has been seeing that. I mean, she's been teasing for the longest time, right? I mean, we're all talking about what she just posted on the social doohickey machine, right? That's the talk of the wrestling world right now. She knows exactly what she's doing. Her mind is on WWE. WWE's got the mind on Sasha Banks. This is going to happen, right? Has to. So everybody's just talking about what just recently was posted, but let's go back, right? Let's look at all the teases with Banks just recently. First and foremost, her own best friend Bayley was asked straight up, do you think Sasha will be coming back in the near future? Bayley said, yes, I do expect to see Sasha back. Maybe she said one day, but she said yes. And I hope she does, she said too. I could always use her right there with me. But Bayley said yes. Bayley, you got to know, this is the best friend of Sasha Banks. Bayley knows exactly what went down to make Sasha Banks and Trinity Fatu, Naomi, walk out. Bayley knows exactly what happened. First-hand account from Sasha and Naomi, no doubt. And for her to straight up answer without hesitation, yeah, I do think you're going to see Sasha again. That tells you it wasn't that big of a deal that you're never going to see her again or that she's never going to contemplate coming back. Bayley said, yeah, I do expect her back. And her best friend Bayley, just recently, last week, right before Christmas, you guys saw the headlines, Bayley locked down to a new multi-year contract from World Wrestling Entertainment. So this isn't a scenario where Bayley's going to go see if the grass is greener elsewhere, or maybe she's going to follow Sasha somewhere else. No, Bayley's like, this is where it's at, and she's not even being booked properly. We hope that's going to change once this whole damage control is finished with her. I still think a lot could have been done with her as the leader, still do think that. But that's with crappy booking. Coming back from this injury, I don't think all has gone so well for her either, rehab-wise. I don't know if she's 100% per se, and maybe she knows that. But she locked down a new deal too. And then you see the teases from Banks herself, right? More and more, she's starting to comment on past wrestling matches in WWE. Commenting on things from WWE. Talking about The Rock and the whole impersonation thing. And having fun with that. Or, just recently today, a picture in front, or within the last 24 hours, a picture in front of the TD Bank Garden Arena, formerly the Boston Garden, like Madison Square Garden. You had the Boston Garden. Now it's the TD Bank Arena, I believe. Or TD Garden. It's the Boston Garden. Sasha Banks takes a picture in front of it. BC, what's the I mean, that's her hometown. It's Boston. That's where she's from, BC. That's exactly where they were, WWE, for their holiday tour. She just happens to be at the same arena that her best friends and all her old coworker, they're all there, but she didn't go into that arena? Or she just wanted to stop by and go, oh, I know WWE's going to come here. By the way, Hi, this is that's where WWE is tonight. But this is somebody going somewhere else when her mind is literally she keeps teasing WWE. She keeps putting that out there. They call them cryptic posts. No, they're straight up gem teases because they're gems. This is strategic. It's exactly what Punk was doing for a long time. And if you followed closely, it's what Cody Rhodes was doing for a long time. He was teasing that before Cody Rhodes actually jumped ship. Now, a lot of people thought that Sasha Banks was straight up going to competition or an alternative, but that was never locked down. That was always just to have an appearance. Maybe even a match was talked about. Unfortunately, she got injured. But that was never a long-term deal. That's why if anybody's going, well, isn't she locked up on another contract elsewhere? Because that's where she was headed before the injury. No, absolutely not. Maybe a handshake deal and a phone call. That was it. It was never a long-term deal. And I truly believe that she is seeing everything that's happening, not just with Cody Rhodes. You know, man, that she has said many times how that was so special. What happened with Cody Rhodes last year, unfortunately ending the way it did, but how special that was to come from where he came from and go full circle, come back home being in the main event at WrestleMania. But then what happened with CM Punk? You guys remember, again, you want another tease. I'll keep cutting. I mean, this is all, I have no notes in front of me. I'm just, all these teases that she has been teasing over the last couple of months, over the last month especially. This is just off the dome piece. Another one was the 27th of November. 2 days after Survivor Series. Monday Night Raw, CM Punk. A massive moment for Monday Night Raw, for CM Punk, for pro wrestling. You guys remember what Mercedes Moné put down on that Monday? I love professional wrestling. She does that every now and again when it's a big moment or something really special. I love pro wrestling. She put that on that Monday. But she's not watching the product. She's not into what's happening with WWE. This is somebody who has been scorned so badly, she wants nothing to do with them. This sound like somebody who's going elsewhere? Nothing else. No other company is being teased. This is just WWE, 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 WWE. Tell me you're not thinking WWE without actually telling me you're not thinking about WWE. Stop. Nothing else is being teased. And on top of that, you guys saw the report yourself. It's all over the place with several different types of reports, but all around the same centered concept. That there's already talks with WWE and Sasha. And the biggest obstacle, hurdle, if you will, is how many put it, is the money. The Mercedes Moné that WWE is going to offer her. The word going around is that Mercedes wants more money because she feels she is worth more than what anybody has offered her yet. And WWE, was the report, is that Sasha Banks wants more money than they're paying Charlotte Flair. I don't see the problem. What happened? Huh? What happened? What happened? What's up? Because I'm not seeing the issue here. She wants more money than Charlotte Flair. Deal. Done. Charlotte Flair isn't everybody's best match. Sasha Banks is everybody's. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair many times. Bailey many times. We already went over the list. Io, Asuka, Zelina, a Carmella, an Alexa. It doesn't matter. Sasha, every match. It's not Charlotte. Charlotte gets all this money because she was propelled. Vincent Kennedy McMahon and Paul Levesque McMahon love Charlotte, and that's fine. It's their company. It's Vince's, well, it was. But Endeavor's not going to intervene on that. It's a Flair. But they love the concept of a Flair, a woman Flair. Especially Levesque McMahon loves it. So she's been propelled to that. There's nothing in the world that would make Charlie Flair stand out amongst a lot of these individuals. Naomi was always more athletic. Sasha Banks was always just a better wrestler. There was better blonde bombshells. But they had everything right there with the tall, busty blonde that was actually athletic. So they're like, all right, this is the deal. But you could pay somebody half of that, a quarter of what Charlie's making. And I'm pretty sure they can botch a moonsault every single match, get up on their arms during a figure 4 leg lock, call it a figure 8, and then do some woos. And I'm pretty sure you're going to get the same result from the crowd. Not seeing any difference. Throw a robe on them that says fair instead of flair. You know, no copyright, no trade. You're good. There's no reason Sasha Banks should be getting less money than Charlie Flair. Or make it a competition. Have some fun with it. When Charlie comes back from injury, if she hits her next moonsault, Sasha will have to take a 20% pay cut. If she misses her next moonsault, Sasha gets a 30% increase. That's an easy 30% from Sasha, because Charlotte never lands the moonsault. Too funny. But Sasha Banks is just leaps and bounds better than most, if not all, female wrestlers on the planet, in the world. She just is. She's that good. And if that is the biggest obstacle why you're not bringing her back, because she wants, at the bare minimum, as much as Charlie's making, bare minimum, she better at least be getting what Charlie's getting. Because you are not selling me. Just because the machine is putting the rocket on Charlie for 8 years plus doesn't mean that we are. There's no way you're going to sell somebody like BC that Charlie Flair is that much or even any better than Sasha Banks. Not on any planet, especially this one. So she wants more money, or I'm guessing it's bare minimum, the same exact price tag that Charlie Flair is bringing in. I see no problem with that at all. Much deserved, much earned by Sasha Banks. If she has not proved her worth in that company yet, then this company will never open their eyes, because it's plain, it's clear as day. So apparently, to get back to the original point, there's already talks, or there's been discussions already. If we're already down to talking about money, then they've already decided, right? WWE wants her back, and she clearly is thinking WWE with all the teases. She's there at the TD Bank Garden Arena. She is there while WWE is there. All her people are right there in that building. She just stopped by the parking lot to snap the photo. She didn't know that WWE was there. Because if you ever went to one of these shows, it's all over the place. On the side of the building, on the big trons, the big signs, every post. Not so fast. It's exactly what needs to happen. Sasha Banks is WWE. WWE is Sasha Banks. Now, we just have to book her correctly when she comes back, and let's hope Paul Levesque McMahon does just that. There's no other place for Sasha Banks. It ain't gonna happen. No other company is gonna utilize her. No other company has a women's division that is fully functioning. They have good wrestlers that could be a decent division, but it's not functioning. TNA Impact, pretty close actually. Impact Wrestling has always had a good female division, which is why Trinity Fatu, Naomi, she went over there. The problem with that is the product itself as a whole just has a bad stigma to it. So no matter how good the females are, it can't get the viewers to tune in. So that's the problem with Impact. Everywhere else, it's a mess. And the promoters don't even try to book the ladies correctly. So it's, you see what happened with Cody Rhodes. You see what happened with CM Punk. I know Sasha Banks is looking at that and going, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? That's where I belong. I belong on the stage of WrestleMania. I created a legacy over there. And here I am. I leave. And listen, she stood up for herself. We made uploads on that. I'm so proud of her. And especially the way they were booking her, leave. Maybe the only way they're going to value you is if you do leave and come back. But She takes off and it seems like one pothole after another, right? I mean, she takes off and the buzz wasn't exactly what I'm sure she was hoping for. Then she gets injured and many deals off of that injury get put on hold or totally negated. And then before you know it, the place where she was gonna go, another promotion that she was gonna go to and at least have a match or two, that organization that was hot at the time, that organization ends up cooling off hardcore. In fact, many individuals don't even look at that as a real talking point anymore. It's almost just like it's Bush League. It's kind of cosplay, and I think you see what's happening with Cody and Punk, and you just want to be a part of that. So I think Sasha Banks, these teases are obviously done more than on purpose. She knows what needs to happen next. Levesque McMahon knows what needs to happen next, especially with Charlie out with this injury. Whether she comes back and pulls an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary for Mania or not, she's going to be out for several months. Banks, you can pull the old Stone Cold. You don't even have to, because she's coming off an injury. You don't even have to have her wrestle at first. Remember when Stone Cold had the neck injury? He became even more popular when he was not wrestling. They just put him in badass storylines. He was doing all this wild stuff every week. Bring Sasha back. Now's the time. Fox will not be hurting without Charlie if that's truly what WWE is thinking. Like Charlie Flair is bringing in these massive ratings for WWE. But if they are concerned with that, well, there's your answer. Sasha Banks, man, all these teases and the latest one, she is there. You got to believe, too. I don't know exactly when that was taken. Sometimes they post this at a different time, different hour. But you got to believe if it was indeed the same exact time that WWE was there, you got to believe she was in those walls. Especially if what we're hearing is true and they've already had the talks and they're down to money already. Then, yeah, she's in there and just chumming it up. Checking out her old new workplace. Interesting, man. As a Sasha Banks channel, I'm pumped for this for sure. It's time to come back to where it all started. There's no playing around anywhere else. You belong on the grandest of them all. And even though WWE's ratings are in the tank, even though WWE's numbers, aside from financially, because they are not hurting there, but everything else, viewership, all that, yeah, it's down. But it's still the top of the heap. There's still the A game in town. And Sasha Banks does not belong on any B team. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we are out. Let's go, Sasha Banks. I'm sure that's going to piss off a lot of other people that don't want to see her in WWE, but such is, right? Those are the decisions that kind of have to be made. Big boy business, I call this. This is big boy business. Until next time, there will be that next time. Top guys, we are on BC saying check you. Peace. Yeah, let's go.